All right, everybody, welcome to the show. We've got Kathleen Black here with us, and we're going to be talking about CRMs, about how to optimize your CRM, because look, at the end of the day, this is the center of how to produce at a higher level. And some of us aren't even using it. So this is brought to you by Follow Up Boss. Kathleen, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you do?
Sure. So at this point, I work with individuals in real estate, mortgage, insurance, but our most experience definitely is within the real estate industry, as well as teams. So I used to only work with top producers expanding into teams. So some people think we only work with teams. That's not actually true. So I used to run the first team specific coaching company for real estate in Canada. And I've been doing this for about 14 years now. So 20,000 hours myself, not including my coaching team. So we really love helping people expand. And, obviously this topic's important because your operations and CRM is your hub, right? It's your foundation. So we help people, set up their team to work with systems like Follow Up Boss. Most of our teams are on Follow Up Boss to make it more efficient and whatnot. So yeah, everything to do with scaling a team, expanding from a top producer up to, 1,500 deal per year team is what we specialize in.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Great intro. And by the way, everyone, first time meeting Kathleen. So Kathleen, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Pleasure.
And let's just get right into it. Why do you feel that the CRM is one of the most important pieces to real estate agents and to teams and brokerages?
Well, I always say it this way, our brains only have so much capacity, right? And we think, we're full and we're busy and we're doing everything we need to do. And I think I won't tell the whole story now, but kind of tell the story of when they started to bring in, the touch screens in restaurants. And all the servers really, push back on it. They're like, no, my memory's great. I can remember all the little orders and I think it's a better level of service. And then when they actually did some testing on it to try to get better uptake, what they found was that the people using the software could service 3 times the amount of tables with better service. They were forgetting less. And in real estate, the CRM is that bandwidth, right? It's the extension not only of our brains if we're an individual producer, but if you're a team, it's literally the way you synthesize all the moving pieces across multiple team members. So there's no way that we could do what we do and help people without, having CRM systems and plans and optimizing and using it, right? For sure.
True. What do you find the biggest challenges for most real estate agents is, or even mortgage brokers or businesses when it comes to a CRM? Because we all talk about we need one, right? Or we should have one, but what do you find is the challenge when we have one? What is it?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. Not all of us love, setting up CRMs or organizing it. It's not everybody's area of genius. And I'm big on leaning into your area of genius, right? That's where you're going to thrive. And when I was selling real estate, which I did, everything I did that was great was staying in what I call the fast lane, like keep all the interference away from me, let all the little things be done, keep me in front of clients and doing what I do best. And I find that, how I was able to do that is that laser focus. This is how I work with my CRM. These are my terms of engagement kind of thing. This is what I expect. This is when I throw the ball into, my admin team, this is what they're going to get done every single time. And I can rely on it 100%. So I think it's not everybody's cup of tea to set up a CRM or learn how to use it. And sometimes it's confusing. Like we need simple rules, laser focus. What do I do when, so that my brain can rely on the system and go and do what I love the most better?
All right. And where do you typically start when it comes to a CRM and saying, hey, look, you're picking up, let's say a single agent. Let's start with a single agent and then let's go to a team. But with an agent, you're like, okay, here we go. Do you have your CRM set up? No, I don't. Well, where do we start? Do we start with past clients, with Sphere? Where do you go?
Yeah, I think whether it's an individual agent or somebody coming on new to a team, it's always one of the first things we do to create your list, right? Your center of influence, which is your friends, your family, maybe your past clients. We want to really create that. We have a whole report that just prompts people for, everyone you could possibly know. And I always say you could be new to an area and you still are going to have a list using that report. Like it's impossible not to. So we start with that, then getting it into the system and then enriching it, right? Want to make sure, do we have the right email? Do we have the right phone number? And this is a great reason to call people, right? And reach out and double check and let them know that, I'm just building things in. I want you guys to hear from me more. I just want to make sure I have the right information, anything I should add. So it's another touch base as you go through. So individual agent, we want to get their list. We want to get it into the system and we want to tag it properly. Who's a past client? Who's a potential client? Who is, my best friend who refers me business all the time? Like that tagging is going to make your life so much easier. So we'll do that as we go. Then we start to get into, okay, what type of plans or prompts do we need to have that are most vital for that agent? Because everybody builds a little bit differently, right? Like some people are going to be on there hours a day prospecting. Other people, they're more networkers and it's very different for them. So we'll try to kind of build their plan around their strengths.
All right. So where do we start with the list, Kathleen? Because look, I remember when I started in real estate.
Yeah.
It was with Century 21 back in 2003-ish. And they gave me a piece of paper and they said, okay, here's a piece of paper. It's got, do you know an attorney? Do you know an insurance dude? Do you know whatever? And I was like, oh, maybe. I mean, where do you start? Where do we start with this list?
Well, okay. So we have a similar kind of, do you know an attorney? Do you know a dentist? Except it's 9 pages long and it's got hundreds. Literally.
I love that.
Legitimately, it is. So that's why I said it's impossible that you cannot add people to your list with this document. Good. Like, let's just make it easy to win, right? So we make it easy to win and it just prompts you to like friends, family, all of that stuff. So we literally start with that. We put it into the system. We do still encourage the mail out with the business card. It's old school, but it's still a good idea with a little note. If they're on a team, we have an introductory letter and we help them customize it so they feel really good about it. And then we follow up and then we kind of have everything notes in the CRM. I always say, I don't always say, we all know this. Like I have a fantastic dental office. I used to manage dental offices. They were very systematic. Ironically, I used to be in charge of all the scheduling for the biggest one in Canada. It's so weird at the time, the most providers.
That's cool.
Why is this important? It's not that systems are systems, right? So what we find is whenever we go to the dentist or the hygienist, I don't know about yours, but I would say mine always remembers like my kids' names and where I was supposed to go on holiday and, the things I like, or if I'm nervous about something. And no matter how often I train on this exact way to create a great client experience, I never think, oh, she's just reading the notes. Like I've never, ever once thought that. I've been like, oh, she's so nice. She always remembers me. And I always look forward to seeing her. And I would say that to people because most people have a similar experience. So the reason I'm saying this, when you're creating your list, you're putting in the CRM and you're going to put a plan, write notes you can trust. Your CRM is just as valuable as your notes are that you can dial and you can trust. If somebody picks up that phone, you have the information you need at the top of your notes section and you know exactly what you're going to say. So again, we're eliminating that concern of what do I say? What do I do? The mental bandwidth part, right? And we're just focused on people. And that's where we all shine. It's not when we're like, what do I say or when? That's not where we shine.
Let's talk about that because I think a lot of us, we overthink the process of using the CRM and then we don't end up using it, right? Yeah. And so where would you suggest so you got these 9 pages. First of all, I would love to see the 9 pages. I mean, we can definitely tag you on anything you want to share with us. We'll throw it out to all of the Follow Up Boss members. I'm pretty sure everybody will say yes. But let's say I took those 9 pages. I inputted all of those people into Follow Up Boss. Now, take me through the process of following up with them that you've systematized, because that's where I think a lot of agents fall off. They don't know what to say. They don't know when they should call. They feel like it's too salesy, right? There's a lot of, and then there's no certainty. So give me the clarity.
Yeah. So, okay. So first, full disclosure, it depends how far you are. Like we have a COI system that's called Center of Influence. It might be for you Sphere of Influence. It's the same thing. So we have a system again of, starting by doing a mail out, following up to make sure they got it. Our system is to call every 121 days. Once we're doing that consistently, and not everybody, that's our optimal. Okay. We're based on consultants approach. So everything we do is based on optimal for the client and, what's going to make sense for, they remember us, right? We're still in real estate. We're not dead, as we like to say. So we do that. But once people are entrenched in that, we actually take it up a level. And one of my favorite systems to work with is what we call in our company VIP COI system. And VIP COI system is, I just love it, because what we do is we actually identify the top 5 to 10% of your database that are most likely to be influencers, that refer you business, that are repeat investors. And we identify that list. We don't just do this once. Every quarter, we review it. So we create top of mind. And we're always looking for who are those people that if I showed a bit of extra love for, they're going to show it back. It's like a plant, right? You got to water it, sunshine, all the ingredients. So we say, hey, what if we showed a bit of extra love to these certain people and saw how it went? And every quarter, we review the list to add, and once a year we purge. So if there's somebody who's not engaging, not really feeling the love back, we can take them off the list, but only once a year. You got to keep them on for a full year. So with those people, we call them, and please don't panic hearing this, okay? I promise it's worth it. We call those people 6 times a year. And remember, this is only 10%. We start with 5. So I start with, okay, we got to get 5% of your personal database and create this list. And then within 18 months, we get up to 10%. And I've never not been able to do it. So I promise. We call those people 6 times and we do a drop of some sort once a quarter. So it can be something little, something thoughtful. Sometimes it's a client care dropping it for our top producers. Like we have people who have moved from teams to selling 80 to 90 homes a year just in their COI that they built within the team, right? Over the years. So they don't take new appointments anymore. So we'll work with this type of system with that. And what I love so much about it is for each of those 6 calls, we create not just an approach, but a feeling. How do we want to make this person feel? What story could we share? What's legitimate that they would relate to? So some of them are just simply like happy holidays and, I've got big goals. We all know that script. Some of them are a story that kind of touched our heart with an investor or with somebody who truly wanted to, provide for their kids and has like a purpose behind every investment property they buy, or somebody who wanted to retire, right? And we were able to help them. And then we have, the offer for the comparative market analysis, et cetera. So depending on the business or the team, and it's a little different, we'll customize those 6 calls, but we don't just customize, we're making a COI call. We customize, what are we going to talk about and how do we want to feel? Like, what do I want to tap into before I pick up the phone? Because my goal is that I feel a certain way and I create that feeling for someone else because I want them to truly feel cared for. And we've had the success with that is not just financial. It really brings us like the good feelings, which I think we need in this industry. I think other people need them from us too, which is nice.
I love that. It's a transition that we never talk about, but the transition into every phone call, every meeting, right? Every webinar, where are you at? And sometimes we never transition mentally into that to be present and give them that feeling they need. Great point. All right, question for you, because I know I'm getting it somewhere. I don't know where here on the group or in the webinar portion. COI, can you tell me what that means, the acronym?
Yeah, Center of Influence. So some people call it SOI, Sphere of Influence. It's the same thing. In some of our teams, past clients are still considered COI, right? That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it's basically your friends, family, repeat referral, past clients.
Perfect. Now, I know a few of you have questions, so do me a favor, go ahead and ask it in the chat for the webinar or in the Facebook group comments. They'll be thrown to me and then I can ask them directly to Kathleen. All right, Kathleen, let's go into this a little bit more, because you're saying we need to touch our top 10% 6 times a year. And I think that's awesome. First of all, I agree with you. What, besides the drop, what type of communication are we having? Is it just calling them to see how they're doing? How do we communicate? And so we don't feel awkward, right? How do we pick up the phone and connect with them? What's that conversation sound like?
Well, again, it depends on which of the 6 calls, right? But we would call, if we don't get them, we put a note in the CRM so we know, so that if we try to call them 6 times that year, we're like, wait, I haven't talked to this person once. I've tried them 6 times, right? And if we do the pop by with a gift once a quarter, we'll send an email or send a text as well and put that in the CRM, just because that, again, it takes away it gives us more bandwidth, right? For face-to-face people. But it depends. I mean, it could easily just be like my favorite, everyone's favorite when I was selling real estate was just the holiday call, right? Like I called just to say, hi, how are things going? You guys doing anything exciting over the holiday? Awesome. You know what? I'm so very thankful. Like, I know how many people supported me this year. I had a great year. I've set huge goals next year, but I think it's good for me. I want to help you guys as much as possible. And I just wanted to call and really wish you all the best for next year, and just tell you I appreciate you, right? Like, that's a nice call. It's saying, hey, I have goals. I'm so very thankful. Like, I couldn't have done this without you. And, I'm anything going on with you guys. So it's not always, let me say it differently. Each of the 6 calls shouldn't be, hi, this is a business call, and I'm calling to see if you have anyone to refer me. Like, no, we're people, right? Like, why would you call 6 times? Like, if somebody called me 6 times saying that in a year, I would avoid that person's phone call like the plague, right? Like, bad reference this year, but you know what I mean? But I wouldn't want to talk to them. So I think it's really important to mix your intentions. I'm big on what's the intention of the call? What do we want to create? And again, some of our people do a lot of investment seminars. So as part of 2 of the 6 calls, they might be, again, talking about, I wanted to let you know, we had a client, they weren't sure if they had enough equity in the house. We were actually able to work with them, and they were able to buy a second property. And the reason they're so excited about this is they didn't know, how they'd be able to pay for their children's post-secondary, how they were able to retire. We had a client who had a goal of helping 5 people retire within the next 5 years with real estate investment. That was 2 of their 6 calls. They're like, hey, we're committed to this. We are going to do this. So we're going to give you a way. If you say yes or no, great, that's you. But we're going to show you a way that you can do this. Like, do you want to come and hear what we're trying to do? We really want to help change, our communities with this. It was pretty empowering to watch.
I like that. I think it becomes a lot easier as well if you're making the phone call to give them valuable information and or inviting them to an event like that. Like, if it's a wealth event, right? It's much easier for me to invite you to something than to ask for business. So I think creating an opportunity to reach out is very key. Good point on that. Al, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, the other important, I think sometimes I'm big on, anyone who knows me, I'm team, right? I'm system. So I'm big on client process, and it's really important to have clarity. When I'm calling my center of influence, my friends and family, my past clients, these are not people who have called me and have their hand up saying, I might want to invest, I might want to buy or sell. In my world, like, we call prospects, right? They're not leads yet. They're not, they're friends and family. They're people I want to take care of, and I want them to know I care about them. That's the whole point. If they put their hand up, okay, great. Now they move into, okay, now you're a potential lead. Like, now I'm going to have a follow-up, and I have a system and a protocol. So I don't have to think about this right away. You're going to move into this area. But otherwise, I'm not going to treat you like I'm trying to sell you, because first of all, I'm a consultant and I just want to help people. Second of all, you haven't told me you need my help. So it doesn't make any sense. Why would I try to push a sale on somebody who I haven't even established a need with? It backfires. Let's just put it that way.
So true. So I love the authentic approach. And I think that's where we overthink it a lot as real estate agents, right? Yeah. We're like, oh, how do we do it? So thank you for that. Al has a question. What CRMs do we recommend? Obviously, Al, we're going to recommend Follow Up Boss on this one, because it's a Follow Up Boss webinar. But no, literally, I've been using them since 2011. So, and I know, Kathleen, you also recommend it, right?
Well, okay. So, and I do, and there's important reasons why I do. I think some of the other team platforms haven't been updating, tech as much and moving forward. Some of the ones that used to be a bit more popular, but I think with the team platform, we have some really specific needs that are vitally important. And I think some of the CRMs don't offer that. Like, for one thing, I need to be able to see all my different team member schedules. If you're going to have inside sales, it's very, very important. Number 2, I need to have ability when it comes to security, right? Like, we have confidential information, we have privacy. I want to make sure I understand how I'm setting that up, and I'm optimal. I'm protecting that information for my clients, my business, and the team if I have a team member. And third, I can't stress enough how important this next one is, and lots of systems don't have it, and it's a make or break. Like, I'm talking big brands have created like new CRM hubs for their top producers, and they are useless because they don't have this. And it sounds really little, but you need to be able to have plans, one plan, not 5 plans, where I can assign different activities to different people on the team. This is a make or break for efficiency. It has to be there. It is a nightmare without it. Trust me, like, even if you're doing it without it, if you did it with it, you'd be like, oh my gosh, it's so much easier. I wouldn't even want to try to help somebody scale without that. Like, I can't imagine. So that's really important.
It's a really good point to do that from the very beginning. I think that's key. Yeah. That's a great point. Listen to that advice. Question from Stephanie. can you give an example of gifts that you would drop off?
Oh my God. You know what? Like I've worked with hundreds and like thousands of agents, hundreds of teams, and people get really creative. And then they also do the same old stuff that everybody worries about, right? Like people still do the pies, people still do the pumpkins, people do the wine and chocolates at Christmas. Like they do all that stuff. Some of my clients do like the Costco movie tickets before this, like we're in Canada, we were a little later. We just got back to the movies, but some of our, they do that. And that's always a big win. And I think, remember that you're starting with 5%, then 10%. So sometimes when you're doing giveaways for your whole database, it gets really expensive, but these are your top people. And we usually, actually, I forgot to say it before, but I shouldn't have done that. We usually also have a goal for our top people to take one out to dinner or lunch a month. And we'll actually intentionally pick those people. And if they can't do 1 month, we'll move them to the other one. And that's part of that top, like, you know, that's the, depending how big your database is, that could be your top 10% of the 10%, right? But for people starting out, you know, so yeah, I wish I had tons of unique, like some do pots and seeds in the spring, like, you know, it's just, it's thoughtful, right? It's just thoughtful little things they're dropping off.
I agree. And sometimes we go to Etsy to find some cute idea that's unique. And it's like, oh, that's, so check out Etsy too. There are a couple of questions for you. One is, how do we get any templates available? I'm assuming you do have, you still coach groups and single one-on-ones, right?
Yep, we have 3 coaching tiers, and we coach brokerages and all that fun stuff. And I have a couple books too that help with mindset if you need that. I'm not promoting it. They're free ebooks. If you want it, just grab it. But yeah, for plans, that is part of our coaching approach. We actually have an affiliation with Follow Up Boss for our clients, where once they're a client on our team level, they have a link and it'll open up all our plans, like our buyer plan, our conditional plan, our close plan, our past client plan, all the levels for seller, cancel and relist, everything. But then, please, really important, you always need to get messy. Like you need to get in the sandbox with your client process, because you can take our plan and just plug them in. That's great. But I promise you, there's some unique things you guys do that's really important to you and it's part of your value. And you want to make sure those things are in your plan. I also might have some things where if you're not that big of a team yet, you'd be like, wait a minute, who's doing this, right? Like, do I have a team manager? Like we have happy calls and scripts and when to call and, you know, when to touch base with the agents, how to have a safety net. So, you know, are they calling people, are clients getting dropped, are leads getting dropped? How do you monitor that and when? Like everything we do, I'm a big fan with team. All systems have to plug together. So I've got one puzzle, all my puzzle pieces go together, and CRM is one piece of that, but everything else we do, it supports each other.
I like that. And do you have a link to where people would visit if they want to coach with you? I'll drop it in here. Alexa thought I was talking to her. Alexa, stop.
It's the easy way is just ittakesa.team. ittakesa.team. And you can see our coaching programs. We have 3 levels: individual, ready to get an admin. We help you hire and train the admin. And then we help the admin set up your CRM, which a lot of people really, really like.
Oh,
yeah, it's beautiful. And then the third is team. Yeah.
All right. Couple questions for you. Thanks, Ren. Appreciate that. Google does that. Yeah, I know. I don't know what's up with her, or in this case, I don't want to say her name because then she'll pop up. Alicia says, can you explain that last point a bit clear? One plan with different parts that can be assigned to different people. Do you mean like tasks?
Yeah. So when our link gets released to our clients, for example, okay, they'll have an active buyer plan. I'm a big believer in, you know, we talked about this today in our community. You know, you have the 2 kind of team leaders. You have the one who's like, I'm going to put you on my back and you're going to win because I'm going to make sure, right? And you have the other who's like, I'm doing 90% of sales. I don't have time for you. I figured out real estate. You need to figure it out too. I'm not going to babysit you, right? And those are the 2 polars. We'd like to aim for the middle, where we have clear expectations. We have systems, we set people up to win, but they have skin in the game, right? Humans like to have to work and learn and earn things and do all that good stuff. So as team leaders, we try to set that up. So an example would be a buyer plan for us wouldn't just be like, okay, day 1, set up their search, and day 2, call them. It does model the mentality of a top producer with buyers. So what we do is mirror the top people who do the highest volume of production. And then we not only create activities, we create descriptions, which are right in the plan. So if you're an individual agent or you're new on a team, it's going to remind you until you internalize, okay, this is how I deal with a buyer. It's also going to have an activity for, let's say, a team leader or a team manager who's going to look and be like, are there notes in here? What's going on? Are we calling the buyer? Are they on their search? What's happened? So once a week, if I was on the team, like, Kathleen, can I talk to you? I've got 5 people. I'm just wondering what's going on, right? And I'm going to go in and they're going to go through the list and update it. But then when the buyer purchases, that plan goes away, which is beautiful when you're a producer, right? Oh, good. It went away, all those activities. And now I have a sold conditional. So it would have activities for the agent. It would have activities for the manager. It would have activities for the admin. Right? The admin would process this, double check the information, put an expiry reminder, send a letter or an email welcoming the client. It would do various things, right? So all those different pieces of your client experience would be in one plan for a new buyer, one for a new seller. But then again, once they're sold conditional, once they're firm but pending, once they're closed, escrow, whatever, right? There'd be a plan for all the different steps. And it's going to automate not just what to do, but the mentality. So it's really, really helpful for people on the team side.
That's awesome. I love that explanation and breakdown. And I think you answered another question with that. So thank you for that. Now, question in regards to just the overall CRM process. I think I love that you've broken it down into 5% or 10%, depending on where you're at, right? Now, what happens to the rest of them? Like let's say 90%, how often are you following up? Is that still 121 days between, or do you nurture them in a different way? How does that look?
That's still the 121 days. And I want to clarify, like, your CRM might be texting, it might be sending out an email, you might be doing, a newsletter, you might do all sorts of things. Maybe you have a plan that's just for more active sellers, more active buyers, and those people are hearing from you by email with extra information more frequently. When I'm talking about the center of influence once every 121 days, we're talking about making a phone call. And if they don't pick up, we put a note and we might email or text, but we're aware that we tried to make that contact, right? So that's what we're looking to do. Now, there are times where people's database is so big that they're doing it once a year or twice a year. And that's why the VIP COI is so important, because we're making sure that those top people are hearing from us. If we can't, call everybody, at least we're calling the top ones. And if you're a new agent, I saw a question I'm going to answer super quickly pop up. If you're a new agent, no, your VIP would not be your entire plan, because remember, you're going to do extra things for your VIPs. Like, you're calling 6 times a year. That's not really something you're going to want to do with everyone. You should be on a first name basis with your VIPs. Like, you remember who they are, right? You're like, I can see their face. I remember who they are. I know some things about them. And at the end of the year, if you haven't talked to them, you would take them off that list. So it would not be your full database. No.
I love that first name basis. So if you think about it, you're listening in, let's just take 10% and you've got 1,000 people in your database. And now that's only 100 people. That's not a lot of people, right? And most people don't even have 1,000 people in their database. So to me, this is really, really doable, because it's not about the numbers. It's just about the quality. And I love that you're focusing on that, because a lot of us get overwhelmed. Just break it down.
Yeah. Well, and we know statistically the people who are going to be repeat referral or multi-investors are, a much smaller percentage of your database. So it's just training our brain to kind of make sure we look for those people and we stay in contact with them.
I love it. Well, Kathleen, these are really short, so we're done, but I'm getting texts and they want more. So we're probably going to do a part 2 if you're okay with us.
I'd love to come back for a part 2. Absolutely. And I'm in the Facebook group. So sometimes I chime in and people are probably like, who is the lady from Canada? That's me. Right? Like, I'll sometimes be like, yeah.
I'm going to tag you more now. I love this.
Yeah, so I'm happy to chime in when wanted, not when not what is the word? Not unsolicited, or
just jump in unsolicited. We need more of you, so just jump in.
Okay,
it's really good info. Let's think of another topic to touch on that you think is a challenge for real estate agents, and let's go dive into it. I love the CRM conversation, by the way, and we did get a lot of love for you here inside of the group. So thank you, everybody. Please visit her website. It's ittakesa.team. Auberry just posted it up. So And if you can't find it, I mean, Kathleen, I just Googled Kathleen Black and she's everywhere. So
Yeah,
check her out
all
there.
over social media. We love people connecting with us. So follow away. We're happy to see you for sure.
Thanks, Kathleen. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.